It's a Monday morning and I'm on campus, but I'm clearly not dressed very professionally. I'll tell you why. This entire building is completely empty. Commencement was yesterday. Grades are due tomorrow morning, so the professors are mostly at home, I think, finishing final grades. My assistant, Christine, is, I'm pointing there because she sits just on the other side of this wall. Usually she's in San Francisco, having a vacation, a well-deserved vacation. My office is just to the other side of where she sits. That's where you usually see me, but I'm in the conference room today, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm in here today in casual clothes because nobody's going to be coming in to see me. I have no appointments on my calendar except for one Zoom with someone who's not going to mind that I'm casual. And I'm here writing a revision of a proposal for the 4th edition of my Inequality in America textbook. And I want to tell you just as short as I can, keep it as short as I can, the story about how we got here. A little over a decade ago, an acquisitions editor from Westview Press approached me about writing a textbook. At that point, I had never done a textbook. I have two now. I have the one that I'm working on, and I have a co-edited textbook as well. But at that point, I had never done a textbook. I had other books. I had trade publications, but monographs, but never a textbook. But I said, I'll give it a try. And so I wrote a book on inequality in America from the perspective of a political scientist, designed to be used in introductory American government classes. Most of the books on poverty and racism and gender discrimination are written by sociologists, and they're excellent. They do a really good job, but it's a little bit of a different lens when you're trying to teach it in a political science class or in a government class. And so that was the attempt, and it went well. People used it. We got good feedback, and so they came back a couple years later and asked me to do a second edition. A lot had happened between the first edition and that time. Michael Brown had been killed in Ferguson, Missouri. We saw the emergence of Black Lives Matter. And so I wrote a second edition with some meaningful changes, not only about what happened there and since, but also data updates and then some feedback that we had gotten from folks who had assigned the first edition in their classes. That edition also did well, so they asked me to write a third edition, which I did. And then last year, in the spring of 2024, they approached me about the 4th edition. And so I said, okay. I put a research team together for the summer of 2024, and we got to work. But then something strange happened in the summer of 2024. When President Biden dropped out of the race and Kamala Harris became the presumptive nominee, I knew that there was going to be a shift in the way that discussions about the campaign went. We know this from previous research. When there's a candidate of color or when there's a woman candidate in the race, it's inevitable that both the press coverage and the campaign discourse proper shifts. It becomes racialized or it becomes gendered. And so I expected that would happen. So I wrote to the publisher and said, I think we need to wait until after the election to see what happens, because there might be important information that I need to include. And sure enough, that's what happened. As soon as Kamala Harris emerged as the presumptive nominee, accusations that she was a quote-unquote DEI candidate. So we started to talk about gender. We started to talk about race in ways that we weren't just even a few weeks ago or prior to that. And so I wanted to make sure we got all of that in. And then November came and President Trump won. And because he won, and there was such discussion about things that mattered to this particular book, I called the publisher and I said, I think I need to make sure to get all of this in there, but maybe we should wait to see what happens in the beginning of the Trump presidency. And that turned out to be a really good decision because the first 100 days of the Trump presidency were filled with policies that relate to inequality in America. And so I'm going to have to incorporate all of that. When you're in a political science class, you don't want to adopt books that are too dated. They're always going to be a little bit dated, but I want to make sure that they're as relevant as possible. And so now the date for me to finish this 4th edition will be the end of the summer. So I have a new research team that I have together. They're going to be meeting right here in this very conference room in 2 days. I'm going to feed them lunch, and we're going to get them moving. There's 6 undergraduate students who will be on the team this summer. I'll keep you posted on the progress, but what I'm working on today is revising the proposal. Even though they asked me to do it, that's part of the process. You write a proposal. So I'm revising the proposal from the 3rd edition to the 4th edition to let the board know what changes I intend to make and to get feedback from them before we get too far into the process. We'll keep you posted along the way.